Hi guys! Jake and Marisa back again for more live reactions to
Kaitou, Sentai, Lupinranger
versus Keisatsu, Sentai, Patranger. Pew pew, pew pew, pew pew. Still silly, but I still enjoy doing it.
Power Rangers news.
Power Rangers news. The big thing this past weekend was the final closing of Saban Brands. Which, we all knew was coming, that it would be closing down at the end of June, and now we do have confirmation on a number of former Saban Brands employees who are now at
Hasbro.
At Hasbro. They've been moved over to Hasbro, and Allspark Pictures. But we now have
Do they call it that because of the Transformers?
Yes. Two people who I know a lot of fans were concerned about were Jason Bischoff and Melissa Flores, who were directors of, I believe, Consumer Goods and Development.
Both of them made the jump.
Both of them made the jump over to Hasbro, as did Brian Casentini, who I wasn't sure what was going to be happening with him, just because he was in that sort of gray area between being, a senior vice president with Saban Brands, but also executive producer of the Power Rangers, and I didn't know if he was still going to be heading up the franchise
or if he was going to stick around and be a VP at Saban.
Yeah, so he still has basically the title of Senior Vice President in charge of the Power Rangers franchise, just now at Hasbro.
Yep.
So, he's still going to be leading the franchise at that top level, so I assume he will most likely still have his executive producer role with the show as well. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
I would be interested to see how things go under new management.
Yeah. Because as I've mentioned before, I've met Brian, and I'm trying to actually look up to see, because I know there were other names
of people who made the jump.
And I don't quite remember the other two names. I think one was Paul Strickland. I'm less familiar with his role, and another woman who's a graphic designer, but I forget exactly.
No, so it doesn't sound like you're just name dropping for no reason.
Yeah.
You want to finish that sentence?
Brian Casentini, I've met on a couple of occasions, and honestly, he's a very warm individual. He really does love the franchise. He actively seeks out fan input. Like, he's not somebody who you guys might interact with directly. He prefers to sort of stay more behind the scenes, but
he's apparently, reading and watching and
yeah. The way that I met...
He's on the interwebs.
The way that I met him was at Power Morphicon, when he came up and introduced himself to me because he enjoyed our live reaction videos. And I know he's watches other fan videos and listens to podcasts, and so he really does appreciate honest fan critique.
Yeah. Power Rangers Vice President is lurking out there, so what you're posting may be read.
Yeah. And he also is able to, take those critiques and recognize when mistakes have been made. I'm not going to get into any specifics, but, like, when something didn't go over well with fans, or when there was something that, he recognized it wasn't quite working in a given season, he was able to own up to that when I was talking to him. He's like, we're going to try and improve on that. I knew that wasn't working, so we're going to try and make that better. Plus, he's had his...
Just all to say that he's a reasonable individual who, is reading what's going on and where the winds are blowing, and does seem to have the desire to improve rather than being... Because I think a lot of people sometimes imagine showrunners as being like juggernauts that don't care. They have their vision, and they're going with their vision.
Yeah.
He's not like that.
Yeah, and he's kind of in sort of an interesting role of being, working alongside Chip, but from stateside. And so his role is not exactly as odd. He's not the man on the ground like Chip is, because he's not based out of New Zealand like everybody directly in production, but he's still heavily involved in development and other aspects. I don't know all the details, but he does this for all other elements as well. He was credited as a writer on Hyperforce, which, I found a pleasant surprise. He was the producer for the 2017 movie, which we
all loved that.
Like, I know not every fan loved the movie, but the majority of fans loved the movie.
Didn't love the movie. I don't want to be friends with you.
And I won't pretend that it didn't have any flaws, but it was still
the cow
a very
joke.
good movie.
The cow joke did not need to be there.
No.
He didn't need that.
And I think we all agree that the comics have been doing very well.
Krispy Kreme.
He seems to, from just what I've managed to pick up, he seems to be doing a good job of empowering creators to see their vision upheld.
TLDR, we for one are glad to have him continuing with the franchise.
Because honestly, I think a lot of the issues with Power Rangers were more at the next level above him, which
has now been replaced.
So I'm curious to see how he'll work within the corporate framework of Hasbro. I think that may lead to some interesting changes. And I'm curious to see what, because many of the complaints with Saban Brands seem to have been more at a corporate level, in terms of internal employee complaints rather than fan complaints. And I'm hoping that a more positive corporate
people having their
environment
hands tied against doing various and sundry things that would have improved things, or at least they think they would have improved things. We don't know because they never got a chance.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Lupinranger.
Lupinranger, yes. All caught up on that. And now we're taking our little break from the heat wave that we're going through.
Oh my goodness, is it hot out there.
My rearview mirror melted off. It's that hot.
At the place where it attaches to the glass. It just whatever glue or whatever it is that holds that, and it let go.
Yep. It
didn't melt through the
hot.
plastic. It just, the glue went.
Yeah.
It's not having that anymore.
It's been a hot week.
And
we're right in the middle of it. So that's why I installed a second AC.
Yeah.
In the other room.
After I had to do all that filming in Dr. K's sweater.
Sorry.
Click.
Yeah, that's right. I gotta wake it back up. There we go. Okay, we talked long enough that the computer started to fall asleep. So that tells us it's time.
And moving the wireless pen doesn't do anything. You have to click.
Yeah.
As far as waking it up.
It's time to kick things off with episode 21 of
Kaitou Sentai Lupinranger.
This is Keisatsu Sentai Patranger. Friend or foe, on board or not. And magical sound. Newly debuted Phantom Thief.
Also, Patranger.
Which side are you on? Alright, there we go. He's been waiting for him. Let's see what he has to say. Oh. Like, well, he's both. Hey, goody. And do a little high five. They're friends. So, yeah, he knows all their names.
He's diminuting them all.
And he's being so delightfully
condescending.
Yes. Gift.
Here we go.
He is fun. Oh, he gave them back the treasures.
The ones he took.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Like, what's the deal?
Pardon your pronouns.
Oh, So what is your deal? Oh, is he about to do a costume change or something?
Gentleman thief. It even says it this time.
So, but the truth of the matter is...
I'm Noel.
Okay. And of course, Kokurei's right behind him. Nice. Noel-kun.
Good. Okay. Well, that makes sense coming from Kokurei.
Yeah.
He's old.
Oh. Good Striker doesn't like Kokurei.
国際警察が VS チェンジャーを使い始めたのは君の仕業でしたか。
Okay.
彼はコレクションを改造する
He's an engineer who can
modify the collection and serves the Lupin family.
Yes. Yes. But
Ooh,
the question is, what's his connection to the Patranger?
Interesting that Goody is wary of
Kogure.
That kind of goes back to that whole thing where he was outside the door looking kind of sinister.
They can't decide if he's a Lupin or a Pat.
X will suffice.
That's fair.
That'll do.
That's a good question. He's such an apathetic big bad. It's hilarious.
He's the Don. He's the Godfather. As far as he's concerned, everything's going pretty okay.
He's like...
He doesn't even seem to... What are you doing?
He...
It is a toothbrush!
Yeah, he is brushing the dam, I guess? I don't know why.
I said that in the thing, the previews yesterday. I was... not yesterday, last time. I was like, is that a toothbrush?
What?
It is.
He's a pair of hippos.
He modified them.
Okay. But... Oh. Okay. So he did infiltrate GSPO. Oh. So he infiltrated... Okay, so he is sort of like Matt Damon in The Departed. Crane and Drill?
His as well.
As his stuff keeps getting...
Intercepted. He says, you know, if I make them here with you, you'll probably get them.
That's fair. Okay. Interesting. Mysterious treasures left by the Phantom Thief, Fender of Garson Lupin have been stolen by the Ganglers. The thieves who fight to recover what they've lost. The police who fight to protect world peace. Whose side are you? Whose side are you on? Sorry, I said music for... doesn't usually say that in the subtitles. Yami no nakade Futeki ni wa aru silhouette Kono shutai Shiritake catch me if you can Destiny Yokuzuru Honto no Nochi wo Rikai suru Monodake ni Ihanatsu Mongai Fuchutsu no collection.
Hold up,
Lupin,
run if you can. Gonna
chase you up. By Keisatsu, Ushinai Shitoki wo takasu tame Dao mawase.
Hold up,
Lupin, samete kuru. Chase you up. Yatsura ni adu Azayaka ni Lupin Ranger. It's showdown. I got off a little bit at the end. I was a little distracted on this one because I was actually keeping my eye open on the credits to confirm that yes, he is now in them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. By the way, happy birthday, Edward! My friend on the internet.
Yep.
I'm gonna be a little bit late.
Snazzy outfit. It's got white and gold for his outfit.
Shout out to Edward in the UK.
Now the question is, what's his story to them? I imagine he's got a story for them.
Sure he has. But the fact that Kogure actually recognizes him, and that he's been working with
surrounded by no masks.
No being the type of theater.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
なのになぜ怪盗に渡した？
Oh.
もっと来ない恐れもあったはずだ。
Oh.
もっと来ない恐れもあったはずだ。
Oh.
もっと来ない恐れもあったはずだ。
Oh.
昨日ギャンブラーから押収したコレクション、今どこにある？
怪盗たちのところに潜入してるなら正体も知ってるんじゃないですか？
So, okay.
その質問には全て答えられない。
Can't answer those questions.
守秘義務さ。僕は君たちと任務命令系統も異なるからね。
Nice.
確かに、ノエルさんは本部直属の潜入捜査
That's a good excuse.
It is.
ただ一つだけ。僕はコレクションを人類の未来のために役立てようとしている。ギャングラーを倒せる装備を作ったようにね。
Interesting. So, okay, so neither of us were entirely correct.
Well, he made them to fight ganglers, but he also said that the Patrangers got a hold of them.
Yeah.
So that kind of implies he didn't mean for them to have them.
Alarm from Jim. Okay, good. So just, you might be wondering why I just said good to an alarm from Jim, and why there was just a sudden, like, little jump. So, my bad. I forgot to double check the amount of space in the camera, and I did not notice this until we finished watching it. And we're 10 minutes into...
It's all his fault.
We're
that
10 minutes into discussion. Okay, so, Noelle's calling Kyrie now. We are going to be slightly less surprised than we usually are.
Yeah, because it took us a while to figure out that the camera wasn't running, or the camera wasn't running while we were watching this.
My focus was... Oh man, you know what?
What?
I suddenly realized why I didn't notice.
Because the beep beep went off during...
When Jim did his alarm! What kind of timing is that? Brush.
So this is the part where I realized the first time through, oh!
Yeah.
His toothbrush makes cavities!
Yes.
Now I know why he keeps toothbrushing the
Yes.
friggin' dam.
Watch your language there.
It's a dam! I can say damn all I want about the dam.
It's the hydroelectric plant.
I've got water because I'm out of Mountain Dew. I drank my last cup of Mountain Dew during the first run of this.
It's Patrangers.
I can't remember if Happy Birthday Edward was after or before the
I'm pretty sure it was during the opening.
During the opening? Okay.
Probably.
Just in case I missed it again. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
This is keeping me from playing games with you right now, and I'm so sorry. I promised him I would be there.
I know. I'm sorry.
I think he's still eating cake though, so I think we're okay.
Good.
But
He should have his cake and eat it.
well, he's the big one too.
Oh,
He had the dozen.
wow. Good for him. Lupinranger.
Yo!
Got the snaz.
Lupinranger!
They got some serious snaz going. I will always give them that.
Yeah.
I do love this dual hippo design to this monster.
Yeah, this is about the first time where you were like, is he made of two hippos? Or
No,
he's made of two hippos!
No, I recognize that from the first moment.
Well, that you said it out loud, I mean.
Fair enough.
I think we all saw that he was made of two hippos. I don't know, but we was during...
But I think I said it during the TV shot. This is going to be weird because we're trying to reconstruct our commentary from 20 minutes ago.
Which is funny because we actually had somebody in the comments that I was trying to explain.
Yeah, we were... he went Metal Mario.
I corrected myself the first time we said this. It's not really Metal Mario, it's Metal Anyone from Smash Brothers, because I don't think Mario was the one who was metal originally.
Oh, that's a good question. Who does... What... Is that from a specific thing?
I feel like pretty much everything in there was stolen from a given game.
It feels like it. What was the metal abilities?
Yeah, I don't know. But it's definitely Smash Brothers metal version going on right now. And you stood still too long.
Yep.
Because turning metal does not seal your safe. It just turns it to metal, which it already was.
Yep.
They don't come any dumber.
No more abs of steel for you. I missed that line the first time.
We need to hit him too.
Yeah.
Sure.
We don't want to get left out of beating up a monster. We're all about the brutality. I do like this cooperative attack sequence. It's very nice.
It's a very good sequence.
It's It's one of the few times the Patrangers actually
Strike
just
appearing out of nowhere!
ignore the fact that the Lupinrangers, that they hate the Lupinrangers, and just fight the monster alongside them.
Yeah, instead of getting distracted and trying to fight each other during a gangler battle.
Yeah.
Which does seem to happen way too often.
Cooperative fighting.
One shot strike!
Whoosh.
Oh, brush out. I feel like that's supposed to be like I'm a washout,
Yeah.
only with brushes,
Yeah.
and it's a little clumsy, but
It works.
it works.
I think it works.
As mentioned before, the thieves make perfect sense for them to take off after they've got the piece,
Yeah.
because unlike when the Patrangers took off that one time and let the Lupinrangers deal with the big guy, the Lupinrangers know that the Patranger will handle the gangler. When the Patrangers just left the Lupinrangers to fight the baddie, it seemed like they were copping out on their job.
She used her binoculars to find the thing, and now she needs to.
She apparently has to get it out of the water in order to make it big, which
I
didn't
don't
get
know
the
why.
first time
It's a
through
little
either.
strange.
She could have just like shot him in the thing, so he went no.
But one thing that I'm realizing second time through
Yeah.
is
うまくいったよ
is why they even bothered with that sequence.
それはよか
To
っ
explain why all of this happens and there's
It's
no
to buy time.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
boss battle.
Yeah.
They have to have not boss battle. You know, the Zord battle. There we go.
Well, they need to buy time for this sequence before
the Zord battle.
Yeah. How much time to pay for the tip I gave you? What do you mean? Do you mean like
た会長チーム
I don't have pockets right now. I don't really have $5. Kaitou exchange. What's that Kaitou exchange thing?
I did mention the cool thing about this is that since he's Pata X and Lupin X, no matter which one he does, he's exchange, which
Yeah.
sometimes he's exchanging one for the other.
Yeah, which is pretty great. I'm amused that his morpher, like,
さす
it,
がよくても
there's not even a barrel on that morpher, but he somehow
Nope.
still shoots
He
out
still
of it.
shoots out of it.
何だったの
さっきまでは
This fight is so confusing though.
会
Like,
長からお宝を
I'm coming for Adam
Okay,
again.
but now I'm a thief who steals from other thieves.
面倒なギャングラーは俺らにやらせて
So you have us deal with the gangler and then you rip us off.
Right.
気づくのが遅か
Right,
ったね
because he's gonna try and get the piece from them.
Right.
まだ取られてないもん
And in the mindset the first time we went around this, trying to figure out whether he actually wants the piece or whether he's putting on a show.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah, and
really can't tell watching this.
it's true.
Which
Well,
I mean, we know now which way it'll go, but
Well, here's...
looking at it again, they are because it shows little indications that it might be,
Well, he's
Fake?
clearly...
but he is
He's
not
clearly...
holding back.
He's not holding back, but he's also clearly messing with them.
Oh no, he's definitely toying with them.
Yeah.
He is absolutely toying with them.
警察の
Yeah.
I mean, if
The main thing that I'm looking for here is his specific choices of language. Because clearly he's...
if he is one of those technical kind of people
I
who
said-
would be like, technically, I didn't say that.
Because this is something I think I pointed out at the time before. It's obvious. It's obvious here that he's
Well, I mean, to
He's-
some
he's
degree,
putting
he's
on a
definitely
show
putting on a show for the
for the
Patrangers.
Patrangers.
The question really is,
Well,
does he intend to win his show or not?
there's the question of does he intend to win his show? Are the Lupinrangers in on it? Those are two questions. But my biggest question is,
To be honest, looking at the fight from where it is, it does not look to me like the Lupinrangers are in on it at all.
yeah. But here's my bigger question. Oh, the baton does work for blunt attacks a little bit better if you're
Oh yeah,
heading for the
that
stomach.
was a kidney shot
No,
right there.
That's not where your kidneys are.
ダメなんだ
On the side, how can you tell whether he
There's
hit
a
you?
gut shot. Also, the kidneys are behind you.
That part I keep forgetting.
There we go. And there's
I have
Brushy
a friend who had a
McBrusherson.
kidney out as a very, very small child, and their kidney removal scar is in the front, and it keeps screwing
It's
me
the
up as to where
hippopotamus.
Kidneys are.
My name for him is Hippopotbrush.
スカッサ
But as they keep reminding me, they only do that on infants.
You guys get turns with the trains. But yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, what about the way that he just framed that fight provides an out for him to still be considered an undercover cop and not someone who just blew his cover? That's the part that I don't get.
Well, you did say now I'm a thief who steals from other thieves.
But even that, being a thief who steals from other thieves, that still breaks your connection. That still makes infiltration that much harder.
It does.
How do you infiltrate a group that you have just betrayed?
Thieves are weird.
True.
Thieves do wind up teaming up with people that they were against before.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not in real life. I don't know about real life. But watch any, like, heist movie or, like, Leverage or whatever.
Yeah.
People will form, what do you call them? Crews with people that were on opposing
does not want to be left out.
in the past. So...
Also, trains are just hilarious as Zords.
Train Zords are...
Because they need those magical tracks to pop up places.
Yeah. You said the first time through, you said that the train Zords were amusing.
Yes.
And I said that the train Zords are confusing.
Yes.
Brush you up.
Yep. You'll be fodder for my...
Caviterites.
Caviterites.
So it's not really that his toothbrush causes cavities so much as that it...
Caviterites? I think there was still an I after that.
Whatever it is, it's those little purple doodahs.
Honestly,
are like termites for cavities or something?
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe that was just a misspelling of cavities. Boom. So one thing I find kind of interesting about...
He basically just hijacked the arms. I did not notice that the first time.
What? What do you mean? That he hijacked the arms?
Because now Noel is no longer in a Megazord, because...
Well, he wasn't in a Megazord anyway.
Oh.
He hasn't formed his Megazord yet.
Oh, good point.
They did hijack the opportunity to form his Megazord.
That. Stop
But it looks
rushing
like we'll get to see his Megazord next time.
I hope so.
It looks like in his appearance we get to see Lupinranger trains. Now we get to see Patranger trains, which I think is literally the name of it.
Patranger train.
I think that's what they said. No, not Patranger train. Patranger trains.
Plural.
Yeah.
Trains.
I guess trains.
Patranger trains don't tend to end on S's.
I'm imagining a train zoo. I feel like that's something that would have existed in Tokyuger. Let's all go down to the train zoo, which we'll see through our imagination.
I never saw Tokyuger,
Neither have I.
Somebody was mentioning Tokyuger in one of the comments. About
goes in for the handshake.
How apparently we should have noticed that somebody's been all like, is this Patranger or Tokyuger when the train...
Oh, with the All Aboard.
Yeah.
All Aboard was was apparently their roll call, which sounds right.
Yeah.
It's also been a number of years since Tokyuger.
And you haven't seen it, apparently. I know I haven't seen it, but when you started referencing it, I was like, oh, have you seen it?
I have not. I should. It's just a matter of finding time.
Like I pointed out before,
I find time to do this.
Because
this is for you guys.
I'm not so sure, Tsukasa.
But I don't find time to watch...
in the back.
I don't find time to watch much Toku outside of this, because I'm usually multitasking.
The boys are on board. Tsukasa's still suspicious.
Well, Keiichiro's also having his little handshake competition there.
What is it with guys and trying to crush one another's hands when you do a handshake? Is it like a dominance thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just a dominance thing.
It just seems like rude and immature.
Yes.
I mean, there's one thing to have a firm handshake. It's another thing to make the other guy come away going, ow!
Yeah. It's a dominance thing. You're trying to out-handshake the other guy.
Dudes are so weird. Of course, now that we're at the part in the story
Now we know the Lupinrangers were
in on it,
Yes.
which I totally did not get the first time through.
Yeah, they did
a very good job of acting like they were not in on it.
Yeah. They did a very, very good job of acting surprised. Usually we get that faux surprise when people are playing up a fake fight, but still. And they're just like, we don't have to trust them, we just gotta use them. And that's a fair argument. Hey, Kokore.
Yeah. Still not back from cake. Good.
I'm looking forward to
and this right here.
Guys.
This.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He loves to play with everybody.
He does.
We need to talk.
But like him having the collection piece is okay if he gives it to Kokore, but he's not giving it to Kokore. So what's going on here?
What is his plan? So, and now we've got the next episode coming up.
Oh yeah, I think that was the Megazord train.
Yep. And we're doing the Sakuya Umika shipping.
I noticed this before, but is that weapon one of those little paper in a circle things that they use to flip fish into a trough at like festivals when you go home with a goldfish?
Sure. I'll say, why not? Oh man, I had the biggest slip up when I was talking about this next episode in the first time round, where I accidentally said it was shipping between Umika and Kokore, which wouldn't make any sense. Because we had just been talking about Kokore.
So,
but it's actually going to be Umika and Sakuya,
it was never
makes
filmed
sense.
because I just looked at him and but you cannot recapture that kind of thing.
I'm sorry that this live reaction is a little
less live than usual.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. It's like we are being very upfront about the problems of just live filming.
Yeah, definitely being upfront about the problems of live filming, but
this is less of a live reaction
half
because
of the episode we'd already seen.
Yeah, I still can't believe
that the bip went off just during.
Jim's alarm distracted us from the bip. We would have noticed the bip.
Yeah, we would have noticed the bip,
but it was at the same time as that.
Because the camera literally has a little bip when it stops filming because it's out of space.
Yeah.
But it went off at the same time as Jim's alarm.
Which is, honestly, it makes the whole thing funnier.
It does.
I was feeling really, really bad.
At first we were just using Jim's alarm to get back to where we were because we could hear it right before the video cut out. So we were like, okay, we need to start from where Jim's alarm goes off. Yeah. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 minutes into it.
Well, a few seconds in when I'm just like,
wait a minute.
After we started recording again, I'm just like, oh, that's why.
Like they didn't just see that. I don't know why we're recounting that part.
Now
we're seen it.
We're just caught in a recursion.
Started explaining the things they've actually seen.
And then we had to react to the fight with Noelle like we did the first time with the fight, and now we'll just reenact our reenactment of the reaction.
Post-discussion.
We will then react to our reenactment of our reenactment of the reaction.
Post-discussion! So, as it turns out, I was right. There is a team collection. Noelle came from team collection.
Right.
You were right as to where Noelle falls within the hierarchical structure of the global police.
And that Noelle was the only team collection person involved with the GSPO. That was my big thing.
We were both right that there is not some idiot group playing them against each other.
Well, it's less that we were both right and more so that our hopes came true, that they were not both stupid. Because you were hoping that the Lupin collection was manipulating everybody, but they had a good reason for it. Because up until now they haven't.
That would be cool, but
and I'm like, I don't feel like they can come up with a good enough reason for this. I think that if it's just Noelle who's responsible for the Patrangers, and he's been keeping them out of the loop, then that would give us an explanation for why everybody's that way. And that's the one it ended up being. My main mistake in my assumption was that I thought he was an officer who teamed up with the team collection after they got the pieces, and it was actually the other way around.
There's a member of Team Collection
and then
who went to the
got
GSPO because they got a hold of some pieces of the Lupin collection.
We still don't know how.
How?
Because, and we probably won't. I don't think that's going to be a major
That definitely
thing.
implies it wasn't deliberate. They weren't given them.
Yeah. Somehow they managed to get a hold of them, and that drew some unwanted attention to them. And so he went to go modify them for use, because that's what he was recruited for, and I imagine that's how he was able to climb up through the ranks.
Right, because he was able to make the things do the morphing.
I feel like his role as an undercover officer, this was something I didn't talk about the first time, I feel like that must be a more recent development. Rather than him having previously been an undercover officer, his undercover officer role is one that he was sent from French HQ to perform. Yeah.
At French HQ, he probably did not perform an undercover role. He was a gadgeteer.
Yeah.
No, I believe that. I think that's correct.
And I think I compared it to The Departed. That might have been actually in the first half of this. Where Matt Damon's character...
I don't know what's in the first part, what's in the last part, because we have to
I know.
midway through.
But yeah, in The Departed, which, it won Best Picture. If you don't know what The Departed is, go look it up. It's Scorsese, you know what the...
Jacob! Remember, our show is for everyone.
Okay. That's a good point. That's
If you're a child...
If you're a child, don't watch The Departed.
Do not watch The Departed.
It's Scorsese. That's a good point. That is a good point. Oh my god. And now I'm just thinking of like every word that comes out of Jack Nicholson's mouth in that movie, and none of it is appropriate for children. I am so sorry.
If you're an adult, go watch Scorsese. If you're a child, wait until you're an adult to watch Scorsese films. A, it's too vulgar for you, and B, it's one of those kind of... I think kids would be bored by it because
I think they'd probably be a little bit confused and
bored.
A bit bored.
Because sometimes
because of the politics aspect.
Exactly.
The internal politics of the police and the mob.
Yeah.
There's still like plenty of violence and everything, which is also inappropriate for children.
But they like it.
But basically the idea is that...
sitting around the offices,
and this is set up, and this is basically the premise that is set up from the beginning. And it's actually, interestingly, a remake of an Asian film. I forget I forget what its original country. I forget what the original country of origin is. It may have been Japanese, may have been Chinese. I forget. It could have been a Korean film. I'm not sure. It was originally called Internal Affairs. And the whole idea is that you have a guy who was taken under the wing of a mob boss who grew up to join the police force and acts as a mole within the police for the mob boss. Meanwhile, you also have somebody who grew up to become a cop, who then becomes an undercover cop in that mob. So you have these two moles who are kind of playing cat and mouse against each other. The cop who's actually a mole for the mob,
and the mob guy who's actually a mole for the cops.
And the one who's acting as a mole for the mob is on the unit investigating the mob. So he's trying to find out who the undercover guy is so that he can warn the mob.
Okay.
So it goes back and forth and back and forth. And Matt Damon is the mole for the mob who's in the police force.
You've scrambled my brains now.
Yeah.
So,
it's a dual mole situation.
Speaking of internal politics, getting back to something we did cover before that got clipped out because it was part of the after thing. Team Collection.
Oh yeah, they're having their whole thing going on there.
Because we got Goody Stryker, who is apparently, although incredibly chummy with Noelle, has issues with Kogure.
Yeah.
And we've got Noelle, who seems to be playing both sides against the middle himself, personally, because he goes to give Kogure the thing, and then he's like, nope, we gotta talk about something.
I will admit that the phrase playing both sides against the middle doesn't quite apply, I think, to Noelle.
Okay, fair enough.
He's not playing anyone against anyone else.
No, but he seems to be almost more free agent than
he's manipulating everybody. He's toying with everybody.
he's antagonizing everybody. But
He really is antagonizing
But at no
everybody,
point, at no
except Goody
point is he
Striker.
trying to make any conflicts between other characters worse.
No, you're right.
If anything, he's trying to make everyone hate him a little bit more.
Yeah, the only person
He's a
he
bit
seems
of a
to
troll.
actually want to like him is Goody Striker, and Goody Striker is probably the biggest troll that's been in the show before he arrived.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like, Troll Squad!
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what he wants to talk to Kogure about. Kogure, falling behind on your trolling. The finger puppets were one thing, but...
Yeah. But I was presenting a few different theories on what was going on.
What's going on there?
And one of the big things that I was thinking was they might have a difference of philosophy on how to handle the collection. Kogure has the book. And so
He
I
takes
believe
the collection pieces
it
and
goes
puts
in the
them
book.
in the book.
He seems to be in favor of locking everything down, which would explain why Goody would be so scared of him. I don't think Goody wants to go back in that book.
I don't think Goody wants to go back in that book either.
I don't know if
Goody
he's-
does not want to get shoved in a book.
I don't know if he's ever been in the book, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be in the book.
Goody is absolutely against being in the book.
He's
I
Pikachu,
believe-
that book is a Pokeball. He ain't going in there. He will
You didn't say that
electrocute
the
you.
first time
No,
around.
I did not. He will electrocute you rather than going into that book.
Yeah. And so that's why I have to agree with you that one of the things that he has against Kogure is the presumption that Kogure is going to shove him in a book. And he's not going to have fun in there, because he's sapient.
Exactly. And I think that...
In fact, for all we know, getting shoved in a book might, kill him.
I have no idea what that might do to him. I doubt it would kill him, but it would at the very it would probably be sort of a I have no mouth and I must scream kind of situation. It's like, you are trapped and unable to move kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is its own kind of existential crisis. But I feel like Noelle believes
I
that
suppose the best we can hope for is that he goes into complete stasis in the book. So at least he doesn't have to, I have no mouth and I must scream.
Yeah, but
But still, it's no fun!
it looks like it would be bad for him.
And if you kept him in there forever, that's essentially killing him.
That's true. You're putting him to sleep forever. With Noelle, though, I believe that he doesn't believe that all the pieces should go in the book, and that they should be used ostensibly to fight the Ganglers.
He's definitely got, he is the gadgeteer. He's got an affinity for using them. He likes using them. He has respect for Goody Striker as a sapient creature. He's like, hey, buddy!
Yeah.
He probably, just as much as anybody else, does not want to shove Goody Striker in a book.
I wouldn't be surprised if Noelle was an actual descendant
Of Lupin?
Of the original Lupin, yeah.
I think we posited that in a previous episode.
Yeah, possibly last week.
However, right now it still says that he works for the Lupin family.
Right.
So that does sort of...
That's also fair. Yeah, come to think of it.
They said he works for the Lupin family.
Yeah, that's true. They both seem to just be two different agents working for the family.
Yeah.
And who have very different approaches to how the collection should be managed. From the looks of things. Like, he wants to modify
I feel
it
kind of
for
like
use.
Kogure might be from, a long line of family butlers.
Yeah.
That have, this sort of wizened, we have been with the family forever, and this is how things are done thing, about shoving things in books. Whereas Noelle is this young upstart who just kind of got recently hired.
Something that I find interesting...
Not recently, but...
is that...
More recently than several generations of family being involved.
Goody was modified, I believe, by the original Arsene Lupin.
Correct.
That's what we learned.
I don't know if he would have wanted Goody in the book.
Right.
Because he's the one who imbued him with sapience.
And just the fact that the original Arsene Lupin had that ability, and Noelle does too, makes me wonder
Arsene Lupin
how that connection originally formed.
What would be a substantially more impressive ability. We have yet to see Noelle imbue a collection piece with sapience.
That's true.
He can modify them, but I don't know if he can modify them that well.
That's true. I also wonder if Arsene Lupin is still alive or not. If it's descendants of his family that Kogure works for, or if he has somehow remained, alive for all these years.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way. What, are you looking up Lupin, like the original character?
Yeah, the original character. He was created in 1905 by Maurice de la Blanc.
Yeah, he's basically like the French thief counterpart to the British detective of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, and also very popular in anime.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Lupin III was a very popular anime.
Exactly. But if he was contemporaneous to 1905, ostensibly, he would no longer be alive.
Ostensibly. But
ostensibly.
He's got all sorts of special abilities. Unless he's using a
collection piece to keep himself that way.
Which would not surprise me.
Right.
So that's why I was wondering if he was still alive.
It
had nothing to do with, what year was he around? I assumed that if he was alive, he was going to be like over 100 years old.
Okay, fair. I did not take into account the Nicholas Flamel possibility.
Oh, was he the Philosopher's Stone guy? Yeah. But yeah, I'm wondering how, like, Kogure seems to be long-standing butler type. I'm curious how Noel first started to work for the Lupin family, because he seems less from a long line. You see that a lot in fiction,
where, like, somebody is somebody's butler, and the butler's son grows up to be the next butler.
Yeah.
And, like, our family has always served their family, and
I think that's a little bit more of a Japanese thing, with sort of the
butler thing.
Not butler specifically, but my family has always served this family, sort of like the feudal lords. Like
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I've also seen that in, like, English aristocracy stories, where our family has always been butlers to their family.
Well, that's fair. Well, basically, I'm thinking of Shinkanger with.
I was thinking about a lot of Regency era romance novels where our family has always been butlers to their family, but now you're in love with their daughter, and we have a problem. You are 14 years old. You are supposed to be training to be a butler and take over from me, but instead you're chasing their 14-year-old daughter, and now we have an issue.
But,
you cannot marry into that family. We are their butler.
One other thing I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to talk about again was, we talked about why there may be conflict between Kogure and Noel.
Yes.
But not necessarily what it is they want to talk about.
Right.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if we don't learn next episode. I wouldn't be surprised if that conversation is kept secret for a while.
But we did think about a couple of possibilities as to what that could be. That is true. We did cover that before, when we were talking to a camera that wasn't on.
And part of that could be, that Kogure recruited the Lupinrangers without letting Noel know. That's entirely possible, and being like,
who are these kids and where did you get them?
Yeah.
Or
the way that he went about recruiting them might be something Noel has.
You have made a promise we cannot keep.
Yeah. And that could be something that Noel's...
Because Noel would know whether or not you can
Yeah.
actually bring people back with the whole of the Lupin collection.
I mean, we don't know how much Noel knows about what Kogure told them, but he seems to know a lot.
Yeah.
And he may be very well concerned with him holding out false hope for the Lupinrangers.
Because they have VS changers, and if they get teed off,
yeah,
that could bite Team Collection in the butt pretty hard.
Yep. Plus, and as far as why it might be a false promise, there were a few different ideas I had on that.
Well, first of all, maybe it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it is entirely possible that he made it up. That even if you do get all the collection pieces, it won't work. Now, secondly, is that he does not... They might not believe that it's actually possible to get all the collection pieces. Maybe you actually need every single collection piece
to make this
work. And some collection piece is in some way inaccessible and has been inaccessible.
Yeah.
Like, maybe even Arsene Lupin himself didn't actually get every piece.
Or, third option that I pointed out after you pointed that one out, is that in order to do so, in order to complete the collection and make the wish, you've got to shove Goody in the book.
That's another thing, sacrificing Goody.
We don't want to see that happen.
Or sacrificing yourselves was another...
yes, that was another one. We said that in order to bring your friend back, you'd have to sacrifice your own life.
All these different options about how this wish may or may not work.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm leaning a little bit on the idea of you need every piece of the collection, but some piece of the collection, presumably that the Don has, is inaccessible, and they do not believe that it's actually possible for them to get that piece of the collection, and therefore the wish is ostensibly impossible. And they're going to somehow achieve the impossible in the final episodes. Anyway.
I'm going to lean on the... Hopefully they won't have to actually do it, because they'll find an end run around it, but I'm going to lean on the Goody Striker has to go back in the book to make this thing happen, because that would put the most melodrama in it, and...
to an extent.
Japanese Sentai is all about the melodrama.
True. My path...
I mean, how many brave sacrifices did they attempt to make in...
And they might not be mutually exclusive either.
And then there was the sacrifices that they tried to make in Go Busters. And then
they're always trying to make sacrifices.
Right, and we haven't seen too much of that lately. So, having to be all like, we need to sacrifice Goody...
Wouldn't it be funny if Good Striker ended up being the big bad? That'd be ridiculous. If he was the final boss they had to fight. I mean, presumably it's going to be the Don, but it would be really, really out of nowhere if it was Good Striker instead.
It would be sad, too, because it would mean that they decided to shove him in the book or something.
But
I can see that being a reason for him to turn on them.
I expect that needing that last piece of the collection is going to...
Maybe there's a piece that's already been destroyed.
Maybe.
And
then they need to reassemble it or something.
It's already destroyed. It's already gone.
But yeah, but I think they need to get to the Don's piece, and that's considered an impossible task.
I mean, it's surrounded in chains.
Yeah.
It's not just locked up in a safe. He's got his safe locked up.
And we've established that he's insanely powerful.
Quite.
He doesn't even need to stand up. He's a really interesting...
He's like Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet.
I really like that he's a play... Well, not quite. But I really like that he's a play on the whole Orcus on his throne trope. The idea of the big bad who is supposedly really powerful but never really does anything. I like...
Yeah, but he actually did.
I like how they're playing with that. In that, yeah, he's extremely powerful, never really does anything. But they established that
he could if he wanted to.
He could if he wanted to. But he just doesn't care. He doesn't actually have any goals. His whole goal is to retire and let someone else take it. So he's just disconnected from this whole conflict. Which is a really interesting play on it.
His only interest in this whole conflict is that if somebody does a good enough job, he's found his heir.
Yeah. And that's going to be one of the big things.
He doesn't even seem to be concerned about all the pieces he's losing.
No, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
But the thing is, he's going to eventually he's eventually going to have to fight.
I'm keeping these though, so I'm not going to finish that honey badger statement.
Yeah. He is eventually going to have to fight the Lupinrangers at the very least because
they want his piece.
They need that final piece, and that's going to be the thing that brings them finally into direct conflict with the boss. And I think for that final conflict, it's going to need to be the two teams finally team up.
Probably, yeah.
I wonder if we're getting any additional Rangers past this point. I don't think so. I think at this point it's
I think this is probably our team.
Yeah. Considering the pacing.
Yeah.
Because usually the pacing tends to be you get your 6th Ranger, although technically in this case 7th Ranger. About a third or 40% of the way through the series, which is where we're at now. And then that's the team for the rest of it. If you're going to get more Rangers than that,
they come near the end and only do like 1 or 2 things.
No, they usually come we usually start getting bonus rangers earlier. Is my
No,
point.
I was talking about like one time. If they come near the end, they're going to be like one-time use rangers, like like Deca Swan.
Well, even that, we got our bonus rangers earlier because we had Shadow Ranger and then Omega Ranger.
I just said Deca Swan.
You did, I know.
She was a one-time use, and she was later.
I know. Okay. In that case, I will restate. Deca Master and Deca Break were both early. Deca Master was earlier than the 1/3 mark,
Yes.
and then Deca Break was the. My point is.
And my point is that people who come after the 1/3 mark don't stick around.
Yes, but my point is that we don't usually get those people at all unless we already have established a trend of more than just the one bonus.
Ah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
So you would have to have a second bonus individual in order to have the late game ones that don't stick around.
Exactly. You would have to have that trend of there being a lot of different Rangers. Q Ranger...
Q Ranger just kept going.
Well, here's the thing. Even with Q Ranger, though, once we hit the 2/5 mark in terms of permanent Rangers, like, we got Tsurugi about halfway through, and that was it. After, we'd loaded them on for the first part of it.
Jeepers creepers, did they ever load them on at the first
But it was all the first part of it.
It was like the beginning of Sailor Moon. New Sailor Scout every episode.
I mean, RPM/Go Hunter, we got our 2 bonus right near the beginning.
Yep.
And then we got 2 more later on, together. But then you look at, like, Shinkanger only had 1, and Injure only had 1. I believe that Tokuger and Juoger each only had 1.
Yeah,
Although
that's it.
Tokuger, I believe, did have sort of a last-minute bonus thing as well. It was I think it may have been a movie exclusive, though, which...
Movie exclusive is a whole other ball of wax.
And then, of course, there's a matter of what you want to count. Do you want to count, like, for instance, like the Lion Warrior and Chameleon Warrior and Jungle Fury, which sometimes get counted as extra hero types.
You're not wearing the jumpsuits, though.
Well, I know. That's why I refer to them as extra hero types. Like, like Ninjor or the Mag Defender or Robo Knight, who I do not count as a 6th Ranger. I know, even in universe, I know they refer to him as a 6th Ranger, but he's an extra hero. I do not consider him a Ranger, because he does not have Ranger in his name. He does not look like a Ranger, and he doesn't actually really morph so much as just transform into a Zord.
He's definitely more of a Ninjor type.
Yeah. Ninjor type, Blue Centurion type. Very similar to the Blue Centurion. Blue Centurion was an interesting case. He was introduced very early, and then we got Phantom later. Yes, no match for a simple stoplight. But yeah, considering how late in the game we're getting
Little pizzas for no match for simple
Lupin X Patron, or however we want to call it.
X will suffice.
X will suffice. Considering how late in the game we're getting X,
I don't think there's going to be.
I don't think there's going to be more, because that seems to be where the focus of the series is.
That I don't think there's going to be any more unless they do like a joke thing,
like a specialty thing. Like, for instance, maybe here's if we had an 8th Ranger, it'd be Goody or Jim Carter.
I was going to say, before you were talking about Jim Carter being a Ranger for
that
a
would
day.
be hilarious.
Like, if we do have anything else after this, it's going to be some sort of joke Ranger of the day.
Yeah.
It's going to be Boom's Orange Ranger.
Yeah, exactly. With Deca Ranger, one of the things was Deca implied 10 Rangers. And there actually ended up being 10. The 10th one didn't show up until a special movie, but there ended up being 10 in Deca Ranger. That was the first time they went up that high. Prior to that.
And then we did Q Ranger.
Yeah, but that was still like, over 10 years later.
I know, but what I'm pointing at is that they went way past 10.
Yeah, they made it up. Well, they made it up to 12, and then if you count, it depends on if you count the whole Miracle Kyutama with if you count Shishi Red Orion as
I do.
as being an extra ranger, even though it's the same ranger just powered up. I don't really consider him an extra ranger.
Fair enough.
considering that would be like counting Triassic Ranger. as a
Okay,
different
but could you
ranger.
count Orion
Um,
before he died?
he didn't morph.
Fair enough.
He was just a helper guy. He wasn't even I would consider an extra hero because he didn't have a suit outfit thing. He was just a warrior.
Well, to be perfectly fair, that could be said for most of Tsurugi's original comrades.
Yeah, I wouldn't have counted them as rangers or extra heroes because they didn't have any sort of real.
I would call them extra heroes since they were fighting with him.
When I'm referring to extra hero, I'm referring to specifically like an extra hero with ranger-like powers.
Fair enough.
You know, like Ninja or Blue Centurion, Mag Defender. Ranger-type heroes that have specific outfits that are clearly designed to be a type of armor. That's staying over there now. You are done with that. Alright, well anyway.
I'm getting antsy because we've been doing this for over 2 hours now.
Not over 2 hours.
Because we lost footage.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, that's because you thought we were going to start sooner than we did today.
That's why when you came home I had the light out, I had the
I
camera
know.
out.
And then I had to finish up a few things. You thought that I was going to be home earlier than I said I would.
I also thought that as soon as you got home we'd do it. But then you wanted to have a bite and stuff.
Well, yeah, I wanted just a bite to eat, and I needed to finish setting it up.
Alright.
Because I didn't think that you wanted to watch episode 48 of Q-Ranger, which is what the laptop was actually on when I got here.
I thought I'd queued up the right thing! I just went for the one at the bottom of the list. I didn't realize it was on Q-Ranger.
Okay. It's alright. So I think we've tackled all of our
I
things
didn't
from the
realize
last
until
time.
just now that I'd queued up Q-Ranger. You didn't tell me that until just now.
It wasn't relevant. Alright, anyway. You've probably seen us go back and
Griping
forth
at
on
each other
everything
enough.
and we got into some good topics that we didn't talk about before, which was about the nature of extra heroes.
That book is a Pokeball. You didn't do that
yeah,
the first
that's
time
true.
around.
So I'm glad we got to tackle a few things, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the story goes from here.
And I'm looking forward to
We've
next
finally
time
gotten some closure
we have
on
all
a lot of the
space on the
stupidity
video,
of
and we'll do
the
this
first
once.
20 episodes. We've finally got some closure on that. It's not that anyone's deliberately keeping the Patrangers in the dark, except for Noel, and it was because he never wanted them involved to begin with.
Yeah.
And it was just his only way to get to those pieces of the collection.
Oh, did we mention the thing about the fact that it finally makes sense why the Patrangers are after the Lupinrangers?
That was one last thing. It makes more sense for them to be against Lupinrangers because, and it was because of something they said during their discussion with Noel. This might have been right before or right after.
I'm not sure, but in case we missed it,
That they don't want humans having the Lupin collection because it's dangerous. So that's their big problem with the Lupinrangers having the collection, which they've never really talked about.
Because we and them have been treating it as an item of value rather than an item of power.
And we've also established that that humans can't generally use the collection. But that being said, since Noel could modify it, ostensibly others could as well. So it does make sense they'd want to keep them out of other people's hands. I wish they had addressed that
way earlier
instead of always using they're thieves as the excuse, because it's like, okay, but they're stealing from the things that you're trying to destroy, and they are also fighting the things you're trying to destroy. Maybe you guys could talk about it. I don't know. But it does seem like Noel and the rest of Team Collection do want to keep the police as in the dark as possible on the Lupin Collection. Including... Oh, that's all right. Including, trying to not let them have any more pieces. So even those 2 pieces early on in the season that were transferred from French HQ were never supposed to go to
the
them.
Patrangers.
Which is funny. I like that. So I think I think that gets us all caught up.
Okay, now we're all caught up.
Now we're all caught up. And then some. This one
so
probably
now
ran pretty
we
long.
can do the whole
I was thinking this might run short because we were going to be tighter, but no. Wow. Okay, so before we run out of space a third time, that's enough for us. So, until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you. Let's do the time warp again.